Today, my guest is Professor Herman Aguinis. I will keep my introduction short to maximize our time with him. In the next 30 minutes, we'll talk about Herman as a person. Professor Aguinis is a thought leader and an esteemed scholar, and then as a mentor to many PhD students and junior faculty. And for the sake of time, I will skip many of his accomplishments and give you a very quick snapshot. So I'll just go through my notes. Herman is ranked among the world's 100 most impactful researchers in economics and business in 2019 and 2018 by the Web of Science. He won the Lucy Award by Society for Human Resource Management Foundation for lifetime achievement in HR management research. He won the Academy of Management Research Division Distinguished Career Award for lifetime scientific contributions, Academy of Management Entrepreneurship Division Idea Thought Leader Award, and also he is the president-elect of Academy of Management, is the deputy dean of Academy of Management Fellows, and was the past president of Ibero-American Academy of Management. Herman is a fellow of the Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology, American Psychological Association, Association for Psychological Science, and an inductee of Society for Organization Behavior. Herman has served as an editor-in-chief or guest editor for many journals and also won several Best Article of the Year awards. Thank you, Herman, for joining us.
You're very welcome. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you so much for the great service that you offer to the international business community.
Thanks. So I'm curious, what did you want to become when you were a child?
Oh, that brings me very fond memories. I was born and raised in Argentina. And if you look at the globe, Argentina is in the southern tip of South America. It is very, very far from the rest of the world. So I remember being a kid and looking at the globe and saying, my goodness, we're here. You know, Australians say down under. Argentinians are also down under on the other side. I used to say, we're so far from everybody else. So when I was a kid, I was never thinking about a particular job or a profession. What I wanted to do is travel around the world. I wanted to do something that would allow me to visit different countries, different cultures, try different foods. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an international person somehow. And that's what I thought about when I was a kid.
Interesting. So how did you choose to be an IB scholar?
Well, I am an international person. I was born in Argentina, but my grandparents went to Argentina from Eastern Europe. So they spoke Yiddish at home, a Jewish family. So when I was a very young kid, I realized there was a whole different world out there that was not my culture, that was not my language. And so I would say I didn't choose to be an IB scholar. I think IB chose me. Since I was born and I was being raised, I was exposed to different cultures, different languages. My aunt moved to the United States when before I was born. So I had cousins who spoke English. And so I speak 3 languages very fluently, and I can manage a couple more. So I would say I haven't really, I have always been international since I was very young.
Interesting. Well, something that's not on your CV. What's something that many people know about you?
Well, I love music. I've played many instruments. My first job as a teenager, I was a drummer on a band, and I played drums. I still play drums, and I used to play piano and guitar. But my first job was, if you might remember, those of you who are a little older like me, in the 80s, it was very popular at weddings and parties to have a DJ and then a drummer on top of the DJ. I was that drummer. And that was my first job when I was in high school. I remember going up to my parents and saying, Dad, Mom, I don't need an allowance anymore. I am economically, financially independent. I make my own money. And I've had many bands over the years. I've been a member of many bands. One of them is a band in our field called the Karma Band. If you may know Karma, the Center for Analysis, Research Methods and Analysis. So we have the Karma Band, and it's a bunch of stats geeks. We get together once a year. including my close friends, Jeff Edwards from University of North Carolina, who plays guitar, Jeff Stanton from Syracuse University, who plays bass, and Larry Williams from Texas Tech, who sings and is our producer. So we have that going on right now.
Interesting. So instead of running regressions, you're doing jamming sessions. It is very interesting.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I'm curious about this question. If you stop doing what you're doing today, what would be your second best alternative career path?
Again, I think I would find something that would allow me to travel around the world. And like most of you right now, I feel really bad that I'm not able to travel. I'm not able to go to conferences. I'm not able to meet with friends. I'm not able to go to other places and share meals and beverages from different places around the world. So frankly, I didn't have a clear vocation when I was young. So what I would do is find something else that still allows me to travel around the world, to interact with a lot of different people and enjoy the diversity of our world.
The vaccine is out. It will be another year, but hopefully we will do the in-person meetings very soon.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Hopefully. So let's talk about regrets. What is the one thing you wish you would have done, but you didn't?
Well, it's kind of a personal thing, a personal regret. My wife and I have 2 children, and we wish we had more. It's not a professional thing because both my wife and I have PhDs, so it took, like most of us, a long time to get our degrees and careers going. So we started late. I have 2 siblings, and my wife has. I have 3 siblings. My wife has 2, so we come from fairly larger families. We have 2 beautiful daughters whom we love dearly, but one regret would be I wish we had more kids.
That's right. Aslı and I feel the same way, actually. This dual career is always a major tax on the time. Well, what's the biggest failure personally? What's your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Well, I have a very long list of failures. As recently as last week, I got a paper rejected after many rounds.
It happens to you too.
Yes, you betcha. And I want to say that openly because some people ask me, you never get your papers rejected? Yes, I get my papers rejected. I have applied for grants, and the grants have been rejected. So a long list of failures, but I think the important thing of failures is what do you do with them? Do you stay down or you stand up and keep going? One big failure I had early on that was an amazing learning moment for me was when I was about to finish my PhD, and I was applying for jobs, and I applied to more than 70 job openings because my degree is in industrial psychology. So I could apply to psychology departments, I could apply to business schools, even some sociology departments. I've always done multidisciplinary research. I applied to more than 70 jobs. And do you know how many phone calls I got?
0.
4. Less than you think. 4. So, and then I interviewed at 3 places only. And then I got a job at 1 place. I got 2 job offers, but 1 job offer was really good. And it was at University of Colorado, Denver. And it was a wonderful experience. I was there for 16 years, and I met my wife, my children were born. And what did I learn from that? What I learned is that you just have to keep going. You fall and you fall again, and you have to get up and keep going. And what you need to do is take advantage of whatever opportunity you have. So I was given that 1 job offer, that 1 job opportunity, and I took it. And it was a great thing. And I think I was able to make lemonade out of lemons. We all get lemons all the time. Last year, as you mentioned, I'm now president-elect of the Academy of Management. So last year, I was vice president and program chair in 2020. And guess what? We were told you have to cancel the conference of the Academy of Management. You have to cancel the conference with 12,000 people. 30 hotels. How are you going to do that? So we were given a big lemon. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And we said, okay, we need to change our mindset. We need to turn a lemon into lemonade. We're going to do a virtual conference. And then we included hundreds of volunteers from 26 divisions. We had 7,200 participants from 88 countries, 11,000 contributors to the program. And the virtual conference was a great success, not only because it worked, because it happened, but because we learned so much from it. Now the Academy of Management can offer virtual workshops throughout the year. We separated the career placement from the actual dates of the conference. So now more doctoral students and people in the job market can participate in the job placement. More universities can recruit. So essentially, we faced a very difficult challenge. And instead of just falling, we got up and tried to make the best out of the circumstances. So I think that's the biggest learning from failures. What can you learn from it?
So for the sake of time, for this segment, what are you most passionate about?
My research, every paper, every class I teach, every company I talk to, my passion is to try to make a difference. My passion is to try to do something good, to try to leave the world a little better than I found it. And as a friend of mine said to me recently, not just by dying, but on a serious point, I really believe that we are so privileged as professors to have the freedom, the autonomy, and the resources to do research on anything we want to. I think that freedom and that privilege comes with the responsibility to do good things, to do something that helps other people, that improves organizations, that those things will improve the well-being of individuals, will improve society in some way. And that's why most of my research has to do with issues that are actionable, that are problem-oriented, that deal with challenges in organizations and society, for example, corporate social responsibility, fairness in recruiting people and talent management, and also how to improve research methods. As you know, one of my domains is research methods. So by improving research methods, we can produce more credible research that has more application. If you have credible research, it's more trustworthy and it can be more applicable. So my passion is trying to do good things, period.
I mean, you're a great researcher and you're a very clear writer. So without any question, you write perfectly. It's gorgeous work. But how can you communicate to people who are not in the field? Like if I give you the scenario, imagine you're stranded in a small village, you sought refuge in a small neighborhood pub, locals are curious about you. How do you summarize your research to laymen who don't really follow your work in these top journals?
Thank you. That's a good question. In fact, last night I was talking to a friend of my daughters, and she said, "Oh, you're a professor. What do you do?" So I had to answer that precise question. So my research is mostly on talent management, which is how do you help organizations turn people into a source of sustainable advantage. And at the same time, how to improve the well-being of organizations and of individuals in organizations. So I want to help organizations manage people better and also improve the conditions of work of people. And one of the ways I do my research in talent management is through research methods and analysis, which is my second stream of work, because I believe that through the improvement of research methods, we can do better research. And if you think about the history of science, you think about the history of biology. What was biology before the invention of the microscope? They knew nothing. They didn't know bacteria. They didn't know viruses. And how about astronomy? Astronomy before the invention of the telescope and now the Hubble telescope. Basic things such as the age of the universe and the size of the universe were completely wrong or completely unknown. So I think it is important for us doing IB to improve our research methods, because that would lead to stronger and better theories and better knowledge that we can use to improve society.
Very clear. I mean, if a teenager can understand the talent management side of it, this was very clear. Thank you. Well, let's talk about the omitted variables in IB research. What are the top 3, 4 omitted variables in IB?
Well, I have my own bias that I will use to answer your question. My bias is I come from more of a micro individual level of analysis. So I wouldn't say there's one omitted variables, but a bunch of them. And those are the variables that have to do with the individual level of analysis. A lot of the research in IB is about what firms do. For example, how does a firm choose to enter a country or not? What is the entry strategy for the firm? And then typically our papers in IB say, oh, firms do this and firms choose to do that and firms enter this way and that way. And when I read those papers, I say, firm, who is a firm? Firms do not think. Firms do not have emotions. Firms do not make decisions. People do. The CEO made a decision. Maybe the board made a decision. The CFO of a company make a decision. So what I think a bunch of omitted variables in IB is the individual and the team levels of analysis. What's happening inside that black box of the firm does this and the firm does that. And actually, there's a whole movement in strategy called the micro foundations of strategy. And now that's happening in IB as well, the micro foundations of IB. I'm not saying eliminating at all the firm level of analysis or the society and the industry levels. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. That is a level that we're interested in. But if we want to understand why and the underlying mechanisms, we have to go under the hood. We need to go into the micro foundations.
And what are the tools? What are the tools to use for micro foundations of IB?
Very good. Any one method that we use is always deficient. IB is a very complex, multi-level field. In IB, things happen at different levels of analysis. We have the societal rules, we have industry rules and regulations, we have trends in the industry, we have firm level issues, and we have individual level issues. So the one method that I think is critical for IB is multi-level modeling, because multi-level modeling allows us to understand when you see an outcome. For example, the firm succeeded in entering a country. Well, what were the firm level variables that made that happen? What were the industry level variables? What were the country level variables? What were the individual and the team level variables? That's one thing, the complexity in terms of levels of analysis. Mm-hmm. Number two, things in IB happen over time. They unfold over time. Like a company enters a new market. Well, that happens. There are many, many, many steps along the way. So to truly understand that, we need to use longitudinal modeling. We need to look at data that are collected over time. So I think the greatest potential in terms of methods, in terms of the future, is the combination of longitudinal methods with multi-level methods, because we need to understand the effects at different levels of analysis and the relative importance of all these effects as they unfold over time.
Actually, there's a lot of new movement in IB for better methods now, better, more precise methods, better methods, and micro level focus. This is valuable.
Well, we have to admit this is not easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. So how do you collect data at the individual level, at the team, at the firm, at the society, all at the same time? So one way to do that, and we've been writing on this, is to merge different sources of data. So you use one database about economic indicators from one source, another database about firm level data, and then you might have to do a survey for the individuals. So you cannot expect to get all the data from different levels from the same source.
I mean, we will come back to this part about what are the resources, capabilities that the PhD students and junior faculty should develop later. But where do you see the IB research in the next 5 to 10 years? What's the next big question? that will be the peak of that surf?
I think there's a balance between fads and knowledge that will be long lasting. There's a lot of pressure from the outside to answer questions that are immediate. We need to solve, like, for example, the Brexit. We need to study Brexit right now. This is an issue we need to study now. But our perspective from a research and theoretical perspective is more long term. We don't want to just understand the Brexit, but we want to understand overall the exit of a player from a set of players combined. So I'm not so concerned about studying things that are directly applicable right now, as long as the general theory and domain that we study can be used for the applicability of the particular instance. So the next big thing in IB, I think, is to try to keep the perspective of the field overall and the big questions, theoretical questions, that at the same time we can use to solve immediate problems. And that's a very hard thing to do. But that's what I do when I start my own project. I think about, okay, I do a thought experiment. And I think, okay, let's pretend I'm done and I'm explaining what I found. Can I explain this to a researcher? Can I explain this to a practitioner, to a manager? Will they be interested in what I have to say? So that's how I try to think about my research. If I'm able to explain the results to different audiences, I think the probability that it will be high impact research is much higher.
Actually, when I'm submitting a paper to AMR, AMJ, in the submission process, they ask, what are the top 3 things that you have accomplished in this paper? I found this thing given in that little square that you need to fill out the most helpful. Although the introduction has it, the conclusion has it, a couple of times, very clearly written, many times edited, and yet those little boxes help formulate it in the mind a lot. Thank you for this research portion. Now about mentoring. What do you wish you would have known when you were starting out your career, which would speed up things for you?
So many things, because we're so much wiser now with a bunch of age and a bunch of years under our belts. I would say that the most critical part as a junior scholar is to learn how to do the craft of doing research. The way we do research is like an apprenticeship model in the Middle Ages. You work with someone, you learn how to do research. You cannot learn how to do research by just reading about research. You have to do the research, and most importantly, you have to learn the tools of research. If you're a good carpenter, you know your tools. And then with those tools, you can build a different cabinet. You can build a different bookcase if you know your tools. So using that analogy, as an IB researcher, if you know your methods, if a new theory comes along, a new topic comes along, if you know your methods, you will be able to tackle the new theory. You will be able to investigate new topics if you know your tools. So I wish I had known the importance of research methods. And by this, I'm also talking about how to think theoretically. I'm not just thinking about the data analysis, the operational technical aspects of research. I'm thinking about identifying an interesting question, designing a study, formulating your hypotheses or research questions. So what I call the craft of doing research. Critical.
I mean, there are 2 things. One is being a bit different than your master, your mentor, right? Developing your own identity, and also choosing skills that are difficult to develop. And not many people have access to top quality mentors. What do you suggest for people to do? How should they pursue mentors for them to follow?
That is a great question, and this is one of the types of lemonade that we've been able to squeeze out of the lemons of COVID, because everyone now is using virtual communications, and this has facilitated our interview today. Thank you so much. Great idea. But also, for example, I have met with people from Brazil, from India, from other countries around the world virtually, which was impossible to do before COVID. This is a perfect time to create virtual research teams. Just a few months ago, we published an article in the Journal of Management on doing research in Latin America. In Latin America, like most of the other parts of the emerging world, don't have the resources, people from Latin America, to go to the Academy of Management, to go to the AIB conference. You just don't have $2,000 to go somewhere. So in that article, we make, in the Journal of Management, we make suggestions on how to network, how to virtually network with researchers from other countries to create research teams. For example, in emerging countries, you can get a lot of good data sometimes, very interesting data on entrepreneurship, on inequality, on gender-based inequality, on economies that fluctuate up and down all the time. So very, very interesting data that you don't have in the Western world. But people in North America and Europe, they have the research tools and the language skills to be able to publish papers with those data. So that would be one way to collaborate. So go to the Journal of Management and check it out. And I think probably the same paper could have been written about India, about China, about other parts of the world that are similar to Latin America in terms of the access to resources and things like that.
Interesting. When I was talking with John Cantwell, and he said there's this, you need to be close to your co-authors, you need to be close to, there's this missing thing when you are distant. And there's this two camps right now. You know, obviously personal touch is very, very important. You need to be close, but there's also the benefits of being pretty much everywhere on just a Zoom call to develop these things. So you've seen many people, many junior faculty. What are the top 3 mistakes that you see that they generally make, that people usually make the same mistake over and over? What are these top 3 big mistakes to avoid?
Well, there's one mistake that drives me crazy, but I see people making over and over again, this obsession to publish in an A journal and nothing else counts. And this is driving us onto a cliff, the entire field. People are switching their mindset from doing high quality research, high impact research, research that matters, research that changes the world, research that improves society. They're putting that aside because the reward system is if you don't publish in one of these elite journals, you get nothing. But if you do publish in these journals, you get hired, you get tenure, you get summer support, you get a teaching reduction. We have a perfect storm going on in the field right now. In IB and many other fields, we have the pressure to publish in A journals that reject 90% or more of the papers submitted. Methods are very sophisticated. And as we mentioned earlier, fewer and fewer resources to train people to do methods. We have, that's pushing people to engage in questionable research practices because you have to get into these journals or nothing else counts. So this is creating research that it is hard to replicate, research that is not credible, research that is not trustworthy, and is creating a big problem. So the biggest mistake is to chase after those A journals without really emphasizing that what we need to do is do high quality, high impact research dealing with important problems.
Well, the reward system is, but I mean, you mentioned that the reward system is tied to it, right? If the tenure package requires 2 A's and nothing else, or 3 A's and 4 A's, well, the person needs to do that, right?
But I have an answer for that. So going back to what I said earlier, get the best possible training you can get. Become a fantastic researcher, learn your craft. Then you will not have to worry about that A article. Why? Because that means you will do good work. You will do good research. Now, it might not get published in an A journal every time, but in the long run, if you're doing high quality research and you know the craft of research, some of your papers will hit the A journals. That's all you need. But all of them will be high quality and all of them will have impact and will be good work that you will be proud of. But do not just think about getting your work in an A journal as a primary target. That is a consequence. It's like an entrepreneur thinking, I need to make money, I need to make money. No, the successful entrepreneur thinks about the wonderful idea they have. And because their idea is wonderful and they're passionate, guess what? In the end, they make money. That's how we need, that's the sequence. So we need to think, okay, this is great research, high quality research. It's a good idea, good design, good theory, good data, good conclusions, good implications. Then as a consequence, it will be published in a journal.
This was clear. Thank you. Last question, for the sake of time. What is the one question that I should have asked you but didn't?
Well, I think you did a great job, I have to say. You covered a bunch of issues. I guess the one question to which I alluded to in many of my comments is what keeps me going? Because I have failures all the time. I have disappointments all the time. I try to get my papers published in 8 journals like everybody else, and I don't succeed all the time. So what keeps me going? My passion, my desire to do high quality, high impact research. I believe in the research that I do. I don't just do research because it falls in my lap and there's some opportunity and I just grab it. I did that when I was younger, actually, because I felt, oh, I need to get a lot of papers out. But I realized that I am most successful when I truly believe in what I do, when I am passionate about my study, when I truly believe this is high quality, high impact work. When I do that, I get rejected by a journal and I immediately get up, I fix my paper and send it to another journal. I don't quit. I do not quit because I am passionate and I believe in the work that I do, in the topic and in the quality. So that is a question that you have to ask yourselves, everybody, what is a key driver for your work? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing this project? Why, with your limited time, life is short, why are you working on that paper? Why? You have to have a compelling reason, otherwise it will be easy to quit.
Persistence. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Herman, for this very interesting and candid interview. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience will agree with me. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure.